So I'm sitting here chatting with Mr. Pete Bottomley. He's responsible for White Paper Games. Mr. Bottomley, could you tell us your role at the studio?
Yeah, so I'm co-founder and game designer at Whitepaper.
Excellent. Now, in case you're not familiar with White Paper Games, they are responsible for the fantastic adventure game FR1. Now, FR1 was sort of about going through somebody's memories and
hmm
sort of repairing them in a way. Because the
hmm
person had dementia. It was a very emotional story, very interesting, well written, I've got to say. One of my favorite adventure games in recent years. Now, they're
Thank you.
working on something very, very new: The Occupation. Good sir, could you tell us a bit about your game?
Yeah, so it's again first-person narrative-driven. We definitely wanted to stay in that vein. We took the things that we did, we felt like we succeeded at with Ether, like you mentioned, the narrative-driven stuff. But we also wanted to add kind of an extra level of gameplay with this. With Ether, it's very linear, solve puzzles, get the narrative, and although we love those kind of games, like when it came out, people were comparing it to, Myst meets Gone Home. I thought that was a great comparison. But with this game, I'm personally more interested in the immersive simulation genre, which are games like Dishonored, Thief, Deus Ex, those kind of first person approach the level however you want to play the game. Now, obviously, if you've seen the trailer, it's like you'd never expect to really compare it with those games. It's not got combat, it's not got RPG elements, it's not got any of that stuff in there. But the core of the gameplay, I guess, is this world that's alive with characters walking around and they have their own motives and behaviors. And you're kind of there as this journalist on the event of this attack happening, and it's your job to kind of figure out what's happened and make your own mind about what the truth is for the public, I guess. That's weird because it's the first time I've verbalized that kind of game description for a press type thing, so it's kind of cool
Oh.
to get that down. But yeah, that's essentially the game. Sorry, it was kind of a more long-winded version,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
it's good.
that's essentially the game.
We are long-winded over here. So now, you've described it a little. So does it play more like FR1 then? Or is there a bit more of a change to the gameplay?
Yeah, so there's definitely a change to gameplay. Again, it's the game can be played at your own pace, which is the main thing. I think that's the hangover for me. That I'm personally not a skill-based player. I don't like, if I can't progress through a level, it's because of my reaction time. So anything like that. So with this game, it's a fixed play length. And so the game takes place over a set number of hours. Right now it's 4.5 hours, but obviously things may change in development. But the main thing to take away from that is that it's fixed length and the world is simulating around you, like I said. So there's these core character arcs in the game. There's workers in this government facility building. It's on the day that a big act is passing. Fictionally, we're calling it the Union Act, loosely based around real world events such as the Patriots Act. But yeah, then in here is an investigative reporter, and the world is, moving and changing around you. People are going around trying to do their jobs. They will go and have meetings with each other. If they are getting stressed out, they'll go and have a drink of coffee, or they'll go outside and smoke. And none of this is pre-scripted. It's all just happening around you. It's a simulating world.
Okay,
So in that respect, you could go and sit on a bench in a corridor and just watch the world go by, and the game would carry on progressing, which is kind of the interesting kind of overall structure of the game that we got going on. So in terms of the comparison with Ether, I would say that would be the only kind of natural progression forward from that Ether's gameplay into the Occupation's gameplay.
I see. That makes sense. It reminds me a little bit of the design. Trying to recall, like it's the way that the Ultima games were designed a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those, okay, so that's kind of the natural stepping stone there for me, is that the people that were at Looking Glass creating System Shock went on to create the Bioshocks, the Thieves, the Deus Exes. Their inspirations were the Ultimate games, so that was their kind of stamp on the genre. Hopefully, I mean, we're a small team, we're trying to create this game, but hopefully this is a natural progression of, I'm not saying we're changing anything in the genre, I'm just hoping that this is our own take on that genre of games.
I see, that makes sense. So how long has this one been in development?
So I'm going to say about 18 months. I feel like it's 18 months. It's probably slightly longer than that, but the full team, we released Ether on PC in March of 2014, and that was on the Unreal Engine 3. And so to get it, we released on PlayStation 4 the year after, but to do that we had to change engines. We changed from Unreal Engine 3 to Unreal Engine 4, released in May on PS Plus in 2015. So since then is when the kind of full team has been on the game, apart from, support for Ether. But I guess it only really got into full swing of September of 2015. So yeah, that's the long answer. Let's just say 18 months though, for clarity.
I see. Yeah, no, you guys, how many people are on your team right now?
So we have 8 people. And I mentioned to you just before the interview, we did have 6 people on Ether, so we kind of, if you looked at both games, you'd see a natural progression, I hope, in terms of kind of focus of what we're trying to achieve. And obviously we have 3D characters this time, and the biggest restraint of a small team is 3D characters and AI and all that kind of stuff, which is why games like Ether, Gone Home, Vanished from Ethan Carter, all of those games, we obviously did not have 3D characters because it's such a huge drain on production. But with this game, we wanted to take the natural step. We felt like it was a natural evolution to bring characters into a world. We still wanted them in a contained environment. We want meaningful character design. And by that, I mean, we took huge inspiration from how Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite interacts with the world, and she'll go and pick flowers up, and she'll know about her surroundings, and she'll know how Buck is feeling, and hopefully she's just more reactive to the world that is around us. So that's where we took that kind of, it sounds crazy to say, yeah, this small indie team took a benchmark from BioShock Infinite, but it was kind of our starting point of where we wanted to get to. And so, yeah, that's where the characters came in. That's where the kind of 2 extra team members fit in with AI implementation and animation. And so, yeah.
No, that makes sense. Because though I'm not too familiar with BioShock Infinite, I do know that a lot of people really love the character of Elizabeth and, the way she interacted with things and such. So, it's a perfectly good source of inspiration. Now, your video game is going to be a political thriller. That's not entirely unusual in the world of video games, especially ones based on real-life events. For instance, there was 1979 Revolution.
Yeah.
Do you feel that we're going to see more of these sorts of games moving forward?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'd love to say, yeah, I hope so. I don't necessarily think every game has to be like that. I think games can just tell whatever story they want to tell, and I don't think everything has to have some kind of socioeconomic impact or anything like that. Just the kind of games that we like to create. Obviously, with Ether, had the focus on mental illness. For us, when starting this project, politics was a very strong subject in the studio, but it's not. This game isn't about, these are our political views, you should believe these views, listen to us. It's not like that. It's kind of just, this is what is happening in the world right now. Whether you want to engage with it or not, that's totally fine. We kind of presented it in such a way in our game where we just present you with all these real world parallels, which kind of presents, because a lot of this can become noise. Politics, people kind of shut down. It's just like, I don't care. It's not really affecting me. And that's a totally valid opinion to have. But hopefully with this game, it's kind of presenting it in a fictional way in such that it kind of reflects real like the current events of the world. And it's kind of like, it kind of makes you think. And we kind of set up the game in such a way where it's like, okay, you've kind of been presented with all this information. Do you care about that? And the player can be like, no, I I'm going to go over here. Or they can be like, wow, yeah, I did not know this was a thing. I'm going over there. And it's kind of like the whole meaningful choice in games, and we definitely want to bring focus to that. But I don't think it's necessary in game. We just personally like doing that. And yeah, you'll see a lot of games tackling that. Another one we brought up, 1979. I've not had a chance to play that, but I've seen it and it looks fascinating. And there's also like a more stylized, more gameplay focused game called Off Grid, which is again Edward Snowden inspired, which looks really cool as well. But yeah, I mean, just as a team, we like developing those kind of games. But we'll see what developers start bringing.
I really like your approach to just the way your game's going to handle politics. So I say this speaking as an author personally. For instance, I wrote a book a while back about a boy whose parents had him cloned. And the thing about this book is I didn't want to tell readers what to think about the politics surrounding human cloning. I mean, that's some murky waters right there.
Sure.
However, I wanted to leave it sort of open to them to... I mean, I did have a specific message that I wanted to impart, specifically that if we ever see human clones, well, let's think of them as humans first and clones later. But also, I wanted people to come away with their own ideas. And so this is what you're aiming for with your own game.
Exactly. Yeah, and I never... Like, just as a personal thing, I think the team feels the same about this as well. We never want to kind of force the ideas down people's throat. And I think, again, like you played Ether, and so I guess the parallel here is that if you want to play a puzzle game that has some narrative to it, you can play that puzzle game. And, I mean, you may not think too heavily about the Dementia side of things, and it may just have been an interesting puzzle game to you. That's fine. The people that kind of want to pull apart the narrative and read all the small notes dotted around the houses and the more environmental storytelling side of the game, you come away with a much different experience. And I think that's again another parallel that we're taking into the occupation, is that we kind of just present the player with all these events happening in the world, which will reflect real world events, not in a literal way, but definitely inspired by. And yeah, just let them kind of take the game at their own pace and digest what they want to digest. And the kind of last sentence of the game description is, you are the reporter, you decide the narrative. And that's definitely something we want to take forward. It's kind of you deciding the outcome of that game.
Now, when can we expect to see this game, The Occupation?
That is a very good question, and one that I'm so hesitant to answer because, like, when is the game done? And it's always kind of, you say a date and then it's 3 months after that date. I mean, to be just, I guess, to give the answer that I'm feeling in my head rather than the sensible answer, we're aiming for October of this year, and now that is very soon. And the game is in a very good place, and lots of stuff needs to be in place for that to happen. But that being said, there's also the kind of, there's people that want to help publish the game, and we're still self-publishing so far. But like I said with Ether, it's that thing of trying to get your game out through the noise and put it on this platform that makes people hear about it and want to get invested with it. So a publisher can help us do that. So that's definitely a conversation that we're wanting to have. And again, back to the current games industry, it seems like a lot of publishers want to kind of put all their chips in one basket, as it were. And by that, I mean big headliner, simultaneous release. It comes out on all the platforms, console, PC, everything, all at once, and you kind of just push it. And for that to happen, that October would not hit for us. October is our date for a peak. Again, this is a kind of a longer description of probably what you wanted, but for what we want to do is kind of take the same route as Ether. We self-published on PC, then took it over to console, and it's much easier for us to handle. So for it to release in October, it would have to just be PC only. If it was to be console as well, we'd be looking at February of 2018. So that's the kind of time frame that you're looking for. Again, nothing is set in stone, and I apologize now if we end up missing that date, but that's kind of definitely internally what we're working towards.
Okay. Well, no, it's good you have a goal. You know, you have a rough window to aim for. Well, very
Exactly.
nice. So now, you guys aren't announcing any platforms quite yet, are you?
What was that? Sorry.
Are you guys announcing any platforms yet, or no?
No,
Yeah.
and like just from releasing this trailer today, that's been the number one thing. It's like, where can I play this? And it's not that we're kind of being smart and kind of we'll do a platform announce in 2 weeks kind of thing. It's just that we've not really spoken. Like I genuinely don't know if Steam even want the game, for example. Like I believe that they would, but again, it's not something we've kind of set in stone. Like we've not spoken to Valve yet. And similarly with the consoles, like obviously we released Ether on PlayStation. We're definitely hoping to bring it to every platform. And Unreal, because we use Unreal, they kind of distribute to every platform. So there's no technical reason why we couldn't get onto the platforms. It's just about having those conversations and bringing it to as many platforms as people want, really. So we'll definitely get it out to anything that we can.
Now, another thing, I'm going to be wrapping up soon, but I notice you
Yeah.
have a couple of VR headsets in the background. Are you planning on bringing this game
Yes.
to virtual reality?
Should have planned this better, shouldn't I? Okay. We want to say yes. Someone from VR Focus emailed yesterday, and they're kind of like they kind of gave Ether a really good review when it first came out, and they're just like, okay, is this coming to VR? Like we want to see it on VR, and the answer is we love VR. We've got the Vive, we've got the PSVR stuff. We love checking out VR. And so that's definitely a focus for us. But right now, it's getting the game.
Just ready in general?
Yeah, but with that said, when we started production on the game, a key kind of pillar for us to hit was we want every mechanic to work well with VR. So every design decision we've made since then, we said, okay, how would this work in VR? So we are making those conscious decisions, and we're trying to be as optimized as we can in game production, keeping frame rates high. And that's pure, like that's our workflow, but also just so we can get it onto other platforms if we're able to. So yeah, VR is definitely, again, like every other platform, it's on the table. I would absolutely love to get a PSVR game out there and get the Occupation on Vive on Steam. But again, it's nothing confirmed, and it's not because we're holding off. It's just like we will do it as soon as we can.
No.
I mean, I think a lot of people with Unreal, you kind of plug the HMD headset in and it works, and that's awesome. But there's so much tweaking to do, and for a small team as well, that's a massive time constraint. And 60 FPS every day. Like as content flies in, you're not hitting the frame rates at all times. So it's like we'll plug the headset in, we'll play the game. It's like, oh, this is feeling cool, but then we'll put it down again for a couple of months and then keep trying it. So
Gotta keep cutting your vertices.
exactly. Less polys in this area kind of thing. That being said, polygons aren't an issue with VR. It's more the kind of texture.
Yeah.
How many textures it's rendering, draw calls more than anything. But yeah, that's getting into a completely different discussion.
So now, let's say folks want to find out more about The Occupation. Where can they go?
Occupation-game.com, or just go to whitepapergames.com. You'll find all the social feeds and everything there. We're just basically at White Paper Games on most social media.
Very nice. Now, let's say people want to follow you. Where can they hit?
At Pete_Bottomley, BOTTOMLEY.
Very nice. Well, Mr. Bottomley, it has been a pleasure talking with you. I cannot wait to see more of The Occupation in the coming days and months.
Cool.
Yeah, I just can't wait to see your game. I'm sure.
Awesome.
I mean, based on how good FR1 was, I'm sure this one's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Don't put that pressure on us. We're definitely working as hard as we can and trying to raise the kind of bar of what we did previously. But yeah, I appreciate the kind words.
Well, I mean,
Thank you.
your work elevates games creatively. So I mean, you guys have a very high standard, I think, already. So I mean, the pressure's not coming from me. I think you guys put enough on yourselves. So.
Yeah, I think we definitely have a like kind of personal standards that we set for ourselves. It's not necessarily thinking about externally what this should do. It's just each of us are creating these things, and we just want to put as much into it as possible.
But yeah, so it has been fantastic chatting. Yeah, I hope
Cool.
I'm gonna let you get back to work now because I think it's time. So.
I just keep saying notification. I'm just like, oh my god, there's so much still to do today. Yeah.
But
Thank you very much.
Have a
It's
great
been an
day,
awesome
man.
chat. Yeah. Thank you very much. You too.